Now, whenever anybody wants to push a narrative or negativity, they always just pretty much concentrate on anything that could find that's negative about that individual and bypass all the positive things, right? In Tory Lanez's case, all the naysayers have always concentrated on or focused on anything that he has ever done that's negative or perceived negative, right? But when it comes to the amazing things that he actually does, not too many people have a clue, right? Like, for example, while Tory Lanez, was wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't do, he actually took that time and presence in jail to focus on one thing. Like, he realized not too many people have the resources to actually hire a good lawyer. You know what I mean? A lot of the people incarcerated right now, wrongfully incarcerated, was not because of the evidence, was not because if they were guilty or innocent. It was strictly because they did not have the finances to hire somebody that could actually, fight for them, fight for their life, fight for their freedom in the court of law. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, when it comes to a lot of cases that go haywire, but they truly were innocent, it had nothing to do with the character of the individual. It came down to the lawyer you had. You know what I mean? So, I'm going to sit here and just highlight, a few things that Tory Lanez has done. There's several testimonies, individuals that came up to testify for Tory Lanez, and they said what he has done for, multiple people. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that Tory Lanez does that he doesn't talk about. Nobody talks about, especially himself. But, I think in this particular case, it has to be brought to light. You know what I mean? Not to, put him on a pedestal, but also I believe that shows the character of who he is, right? And a lot of the times when individuals know the character, it's a lot easier for them to come up with their own vertical conviction if that person did what he did based according to the history of their character, right? Like, for example, there was one lady that said that was suffering from mental health, and Tory Lanez paid her rent for the whole year in order for her to become a better person, in order for her to become the person that she needed to be for her family and for her children, right? So nobody talks about that, right? Another scenario is when Tory Lanez was in jail, he opened up a foundation called the Hands of God. And this foundation was to help financially assist individuals that couldn't afford a proper lawyer. You know what I mean? So he actually funded these individuals with lawyers, and it's not just lawyers, it's the lawyers that he personally uses. So technically lawyers that cost hundreds, so sometimes millions of dollars, right? So I don't even want to say this. I want Tory Lanez to say it himself.
Me going to jail, the things that I had to see, the things that I had to do to help people. I opened up a foundation called the Hands of God Project. And the Hands of God Project basically allows for us to pay legal fees to get prisoners that were excessively sentenced to basically get back on appeal and also get resentenced and get home. And I send about 7 people up a month for resentencing. I give them all lawyers, all legal. The same lawyers that I use are the same lawyers that they use, so they're not getting some second-rate lawyer or anything like that.
So pretty much there has been several things Tory Lanez has done, by the hands of God to help individuals. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom once again in order for us to reach the top in life, right? And as you can see, Tory Lanez is, he's in good spirit, you know what I mean? And, even when he got stabbed 14 times, they tried to make it as if it was just superficial wounds. And in some news outlets, that's what they said. But no, that wasn't it, man. Like 14 times. He got stabbed in his back 5 times. Okay? 2 times in his head. The other times in his torso. slightly missing his heart. Like he was bleeding to death. He was bleeding out. You know what I mean? And they were rushing him to the hospital. Once again, shout outs to the medical staff and, the ambulance guys and even the individuals that worked on them, to the point where, God spoke to these individuals, I believe, and said, yo, my son is not going to die. He has great things to do, which brings back, it's a statement I said a long time ago, where everybody's designed for purpose. You know what I mean? Nobody is here just for the sake of being here. You know what I mean? You're not going to get stabbed 14 times by an individual that's doing life in prison. So he don't care, right? He's doing life in prison. He ain't coming out, right? But you're not going to get stabbed 14 times, slightly missing your heart, 2 in the head. You know what I mean? 5 in your back, missing all the vital organs, all those 14 stabs. That's not going to happen to you, and you still be alive and not know that you're designed for a purpose in life. You know what I mean? Everybody's designed for a purpose. Some different than others, some a lot larger, or some could be minute. It doesn't have to be this big old thing, but everybody's designed for a purpose. And at the end of the day, no matter what somebody tries to do, no matter if somebody's going to lie on you, no matter if somebody's trying to take your life, somebody's trying to get you incarcerated, somebody's trying to end your life, somebody's trying to destroy your character, it doesn't matter what individuals do. If that's not what God has for you, it's not going to happen. If your life is not supposed to end right now, it's not going to happen. And that's the pompousness of evil individuals. They're so evil and they're so arrogant that they believe they write the hands of God. They believe they're the ones that choose what's going to happen to someone else's life. They believe that they call the shots for somebody else's life. But in truth, the real truth is that they're just taking up space. And God's allowing them to God's using them in their evil ways to propel righteousness and to propel good. You know what I mean? In order to see light, there has to be darkness, right? So you got to choose, man. Are you going to be the individual that brings the darkness and amounts to nothing in their life and then just dies? Or are you going to be the one that perseveres regardless, even if darkness is there? Tory Lanze has been talking about he's designed for a greater purpose from day one. From day one. Daystar Peterson's his real name. He's designed for a purpose. His dad's a pastor. And you could clearly see that regardless what anybody has put in front of him, from a little boy up until now, somehow he has managed to overcome every single obstacle. And my belief system is that the governor or whoever's in charge is going to overturn, Tory Lanez's case and allow the innocent to win. And once again, even